So basically, this is what we can learn from this game and from the last, 10 or 15 years. That if you want to build a great college football program, or at least a really good one, then you hire a Nick Saban assistant. But if you want to get past Nick Saban and win a national championship, I guess you don't hire one of those guys. Urban Meyer, Dabo Sweeney, then they never coached under Nick Saban. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Of course, post-game of Alabama, Georgia, and the tie too much for the Dogs in the second half, winning 41-24. It was a tremendous football game. If you just look at the athleticism on the field, and these are possibly the two best teams in the country. I don't know. Alabama certainly looks like the best team in the country. I think a huge portion of this game lies in the hands of Stetson Bennett. I don't want to put the blame of the loss on him, but at the same time, he got loose with the football in the second half, and maybe the moment was too big for him. Maybe it was just he's not that caliber of a quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's capable when he plays within himself. That's a cliched term, but maybe he tried to do too much in the second half when the game started to get away from him, and he felt like he needed to make throws, and he made some poor choices and thought he had a bigger arm than he in fact does. And the result was turnovers that couldn't have been turnovers. So if you look at the play-by-play and you look at the competition on the field between the two teams, it's razor close. It is razor close between these two teams. Stetson Bennett did not play well in the second half, and Georgia suffered for it in the red zone. With turnovers, and Alabama's offensive line took hold from there. And, of course, their playmakers making plays in space, and even when they did not have space. And Devontae Smith is just a remarkable athlete and competitor. And there you go. Alabama wins again. And if you believe in this sort of thing, maybe it's just the aura of the two coaches in the programs. Georgia's phenomenal. They are elite in talent and production and most of the results on the field. But Nick Saban is one step ahead of his assistants. Now his assistants have generally gone and coached in programs that are not nearly as successful as Alabama. So the 22-0 record can be dismissed for the most part. But against Kirby Smart, we've seen three matchups, and we've seen Georgia be the better team in the first half, Alabama be decidedly the best team in the second half when it counted, and overcame deficits each time to win major games. An SEC championship, a national championship, and now to capture the biggest game in the SEC this year thus far, and the biggest game in college football this year thus far. I would expect to see these two teams again in Atlanta based on what I've seen this season. Georgia looks like the second best team in the SEC, but there looks to be a bit of a gap if Stetson Bennett cannot perform. Mac Jones has taken the lead as the Heisman front runner, and that's probably only because Alabama has so many gifted wide receivers between Mechie Smith and Waddle that they're going to knock themselves out of Heisman contention because any one of the three, maybe they split the Heisman between the three of those guys because they're phenomenal and they make Mac Jones look really good. He makes himself look good because he's playing good football, but that Alabama offense, it's running on all cylinders. With Najee Harris off to a slow start for him, and then kicking it into gear last week against Ole Miss with 206 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. And then he ran like a man tonight. I don't know what the final numbers were, but he was around 140 yards against a Georgia defense that I still believe is most likely the best in college football. And Bama, this is typical of Bama. They looked awful last week, and we thought, okay, take that defensive performance against Ole Miss. How in the world did they stay with Georgia? Well, they fixed their issues, And maybe Nick Saban knew something. Maybe he was mostly serious when he said something about Lane Kiffin knowing their play calls and their defensive signals, I should say, and their defensive calls. We are open to talk to you at 860-325-3687. And whomever chided me earlier about wearing the glasses, which reflected the laptop, my apologies. I'll either read the comments or I won't. I know it's a bad look. Okay, Snake Spence. Georgia's defense disappeared in the second half. They did to a certain extent, but again, the turnovers. Turnovers, that's what I saw. I saw a different Stetson Bennett in the second half than the one who played in the first half and stayed within himself and operated the offense and made really good throws for the most part. The Stetson Bennett that put the last touchdown on the board for Georgia right before halftime, that missed the two throws, and then he finally made the third throw. Well, he started making those two throws over and over and over and over. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
The Sabanization of college football, Mark Rogers. That's what I have to tell you.
Who's on the line? Who do we have? Hello, David. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Everybody's got to go see Saban eventually. Whether you be Clemson, whether you be Ohio State, whether you be Georgia, you got to go see him eventually, don't you?
Well, like I said off the top, Urban Meyer and Dabo Swinney have one thing in common. Well, they have a number of things in common, but neither one of them coached under Nick Saban. So that must be the key. If you want to win a national championship and get by Nick Saban, don't hire a coach who coached under him because you just can't beat him.
That's true. That's true. We were lucky that Saban didn't hire Urban Meyer back when he was coaching in the MAC.
That's right. Urban Meyer wanted a job, and Nick Saban's wife thought he should have gotten one.
Who would ever thought a backup defensive back at Kent State would end up being the greatest coach in the history of college football?
Well, I think many of the great coaches in college and the NFL were lightly regarded as players because they had to work so hard.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, that was Urban Meyer, though, too. He was at Cincinnati, was a player, lightly regarded, eventually became a great football coach. Sometimes it works out that way.
I'm thinking of Don Shula and Tom Landry being really good NFL players, but not great players. They had to work at it.
That's true. Sometimes, like, the Hall of Fame players aren't always going to make really good football coaches. It's kind of a lightly regarded guys that work really hard at it that eventually become great football coaches.
Seems like it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think of the.
I thought. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm trying to think of the aberration. Who's the great all-time player on either level that turned into a great head coach? I don't know who that would be.
Raymond Berry?
Yeah, Raymond Berry was a very good coach. There you go. That's good examples. Wide receiver, and of course, coached the Patriots to a Super Bowl. Not a great NFL head coach, but certainly accomplished a lot. Was a capable one, very good one. Yep, that would be the best example I can come up with.
Forrest Gregg was kind of okay.
Forrest Gregg? Well, Forrest Gregg, Forrest Gregg, he coached a Super Bowl as well. He's probably pretty much on par with Raymond Berry. Forrest Gregg's an all-time great offensive lineman. Good call there, David. There's a good one, too.
Yeah, those are the two that came to mind right off the top of my head. As far as really good football coaches that became, or really good football players that became really good football coaches.
Art Shell.
I thought Georgia hung in there tonight. I had my questions about Stetson Bennett kind of coming into this game because it always takes great quarterback play to beat them. I knew Georgia was going to be able to move the ball. But you know what? Alabama's skill players are unbelievable. They always have top-flight wide receivers, and they always have a stud running back. That's their team. And in fact, even if you take a really good college quarterback, if you surround them with really good talent, they're eventually going to succeed. That's what I have to say.
Those wide receivers. Yep.
Because, if you think of all the teams that have won national titles, Mark, not all of them have had like NFL quarterbacks. Some of them have had just like really good college quarterbacks, but they've been surrounded with NFL talent at the skill players and the offensive line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think as we go further along in the development of the passing game and the quarterback position, it seems to be more important. More and more important with Trevor Lawrence and Tua and Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston.
Right, I would agree with you. But remember, they won a national title in 2015 with Jacob Coker as their quarterback.
Well, they're an exception. I think Alabama's the exception because they were so much better than the opposition, I think, in the other units.
That's true.
Like if you compare Alabama's 2015 team to Clemson's, other than a quarterback, I think Clemson, of course, had a really good roster, of course, but Alabama was substantially better. Like significantly, decidedly better.
No, I agree with you. I went back and took a look at it. Clemson had like the 13th best roster in college football. Alabama had like the second or third. So I get your point.
I think it's less likely to win a national championship today without the great quarterback than it was 10 or 15 years ago.
That's true. Like, I went back and watched the 02 Buckeyes, and they did not have great quarterback play, but they were a great defense. They had a great running game, and, you know, it wasn't, you know, they didn't have the air raid offense, but that was a different era. You know, that was a different era.
Yes, it was.
You could win at that time more with the running game and the defense, where now you have to have the quarterback or you're just done. I mean, I get your point. You know what's going to be interesting about this game going forward? I mean, I think Georgia's going to have another crack at it, to be fair. I think they're going to see each other in Atlanta. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do think Georgia's the second best team in the SEC. I think they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. So, yes, unless upsets happen, which based on the rest of that division right now, Florida would be the one team, of course, that has the best mathematical shot of just winning head-to-head. Yeah, that would be it. Because even if Kentucky beats them head-to-head and then loses against Alabama, Kentucky's out. So Georgia, mathematically, they just, in addition to having the best team and the best talent, still have only lost the 1 game, and so it's going to come down to Georgia-Florida head-to-head. So yeah, they have a astronomically better mathematical equation and talent equation than everybody else in the division to get the rematch. Yep.
By the way, nice win for your Kentucky squad today, Mark.
My Kentucky team, I've adopted them. I love Kentucky.
Well, you know what? I had to give it to you, Mark, because you picked them to win the division.
I did. They should be 4-0 right now. I could be upset about that. I could have a chip on my shoulder about that. I think they should be 4-0.
Yeah, that Ole Miss and Auburn loss are not aging well, if you want to be perfectly honest.
Well, they're not aging well, but they got gypped in both of those games. Well, I shouldn't say they got gypped. I should say they got gypped in the Auburn game. They had a touchdown taken off the board by bad officiating and by bad review play. The Ole Miss game was just they missed an extra point in overtime. That's how they lost the game. They didn't get ripped off by anyone. I didn't factor the place kicker into my equation for them winning the SEC East. I thought they could make extra points.
True. But you needed to look a little bit more at that quarterback play because that Kentucky quarterback is...
Oh, I didn't need to do that. I'm very familiar with him. He won 10 games and finished in the top 10 2 years ago. So I was very, very comfortable with that. Not comfortable with it like it was a a good thing. But David, I'll have to let you go and take one of these other calls. But yeah, I very much factored that in. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, take care, Mark.
Press 1 to start the call or 2 to decline. The call will start.
All righty. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? It's DeAndre. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. I enjoyed football, and when I can watch football stress-free, which is pretty much every Saturday, that's good for me because I really don't care who wins or loses. I just want to see good games. So it was good.
Yeah, we had some excellent games, man. I didn't watch. I watched the first part of Alabama and Georgia. Then I got caught up watching UNC and Florida State. Florida State got off to that early lead and held on. I mean, everything went wrong for UNC in the first half. 2 block punts, pick 6. I mean, everything went wrong for them, and they almost came back and won. I mean, Florida State almost blew it. I mean, it was funny. I mean, the running back doesn't drop the ball. We talk about at least a tie field goal. Florida State could do nothing in offense, man. And their quarterback, the young dude Jones, was holding on by a thread on his shoulder. So I was like, man, I don't know if this kid gonna make it, man. They gotta get some playmakers out there, man. Florida State's gonna be in some major trouble in a couple weeks.
Well, sure, they're going to be.
Just put 73 on.
Well, absolutely. I don't think anybody
on Georgia Tech.
Nobody who's being realistic about Florida State football and wanting development and progress is even thinking that's, in a sense, that Clemson game is the least important game on the schedule because that's just an automatic loss. It's all these other games. Like for them to win this game tonight, and I don't know how they did it because I only saw like 3 plays. I usually have a bunch of monitors on and I'm trying to keep track of everything, but I was editing videos and trying to just watch Alabama, Georgia. So I completely ignored the game other than seeing the score.
It was 31, like I said, 31-7.
Well, yeah, I know what the scores were. Yeah, I know what the scores were, but I'm thinking, man, this is a great night for Florida State football because my goodness, for them to beat North Carolina as a 14-point underdog, I just, regardless of how they got it done, I just think that's a monumental win for them. I don't know that they're going to continue to build on it, but regardless of how they got it done, I think everybody's surprised that they did.
Right. So yeah, it was crazy. And at Carolina, they got NC State coming to town next week, so NC State is hot, and Carolina got to fix that defense that they're going to be able to. Yeah. At least make a game of it. It might get to the ACC championship game. I mean, they're going to have to fix that defense, man. Now they're going to be in some trouble.
So what we're seeing. Yep.
What's that, Mark?
Well, what I was going to say, DeAndre, is what we're basically seeing out of the ACC is that nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Nobody's really that good, and except for Clemson, and so you got nobody to challenge you. So what we're seeing is that we would expect like North Carolina to emerge, and so when they just start beating each other, it's fun. I enjoy watching the games, not knowing who's going to win. But when Notre Dame can barely beat Louisville and North Carolina scrapes by, or they lose to Florida State and so forth. So basically what we're seeing is that the ACC's not changed, that there's really no second tier. And so who in the world's going to challenge Clemson? I think nobody.
Right.
I don't even think Notre Dame's capable.
I mean, with Kentucky beating Tennessee like that, and you heard Tennessee said we were back or we're going to be good this year, and you see Arkansas all of a sudden come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they're really good. I mean, it's just amazing. And a lot of it might have to do with the COVID. We don't know. I mean, and we always expect that it's going to be Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and whoever the third team is. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know why.
I don't know what Kirby Smart is doing over there. How do you have a quarterback like JT Daniels, which is one of the I know he got beat out by 2 walk-ons, one at USC and one at Georgia. What's going on with your passing game? This guy's meant for this offense. I know Georgia only has one good receiver, and that's Pittman, but I watched that first part of the game. It's obviously they need a quarterback that can get the ball down the field. I mean, Georgia recruits top-notch players everywhere. You got to put Pittman in. You got to put Daniels in the game to see what the dude can do. I didn't watch the whole game, but you ain't score in the second half, and that's crazy. I mean, I just don't get it.
Well,
how can you do that?
Well, he played extremely well in the first half, and he started trying to force the ball in the second half, and he doesn't have that kind of arm. He started to miss throws and make bad decisions. I don't know. He kind of came unraveled. And I don't want to blame the entire loss on him by any stretch because Bama beat Georgia. But I don't know if they would have had comparable, like if you could clone Mac Jones and put him on both teams to play, I think it's a much closer game. Like, you know how important the quarterback is. Everybody can do the right thing, but man, they had so many drives that they moved the ball down the field, and then he made a really poor decision or a horrible throw that cost them. You know, we're looking at 27-24 late in the third quarter, and he throws a pick near the goal line because he misses the receiver. And, you know, they were ready to take the lead.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know. Maybe some of these quarterback evaluations, especially the California quarterbacks, maybe they're kind of overrated. I don't know because I mean I can't. And I know DJ's from California, and the other quarterback that's on Alabama's team, but some of the California quarterbacks been missing lately that I could tell, and they're paying these prep school leagues out there and stuff like that. And I mean, maybe JT Daniels is not as good as everybody thought he was, which I don't think he can be that bad at missing that. So I can't wait. Like I said, it was a great week. That damn Notre Dame game killed me, man. All my parlay bets are right, except for that one daggone. I put 5 on one ticket, and everybody was right. And I hit every one, but that daggone Notre Dame. Everyone saw that coming. Louisville gave up 47 points to daggone Georgia Tech. Notre Dame couldn't do nothing. I am so shocked, Mark.
Well, DeAndre, did you hear what I had to say about parlay bets?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I agree with what you're saying. But when you hit them, boy, they come in big.
Okay, well then you got to realize. Okay, do you keep track, DeAndre? Do you keep track of your bets and whether you're ahead or not?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm below.
So do you come ahead? Do you come out ahead on the parlay bets?
No, I don't.
All right, I'm just saying.
I just throw $25 down every weekend, man. I love doing it, but yeah, I get what you're saying, though.
It depends if you're doing it for an investment or for entertainment. If you're doing it for entertainment, great. See, I went 6 and 4 against the spread today. So if you put $100 on each one of those, you're going to win 90 times the 6. That's a 540. You win $140
right
on the 10 games.
Okay. Well, I'll put it like this. Let's thank God that all them Miami bets last week that they were going to stay within 10 points of Clemson. Thank God all those Alabama, Miami fans took them bets from me. Because I tried to tell them Clemson was going to win by 20 or more. They got mad at me. I tried to warn them. But, but it is what it is, Martin. But you have a great night, man. I got to subscribe to your Patreon. It did something weird last time I tried to subscribe, so I'm going to get up there and make sure I'm on there, see how it goes.
All right. Well,
I'll work on it this time.
well, DeAndre, if you're having problems with it, just let me know. I'm not going to be able to help you with it, but I can always contact Patreon to see what the deal is, and I'll let them know because I don't want anyone to have issues with it. So if anybody out there that's got me on Patreon, if you're having issues, or DeAndre, just let me know what those are.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate that, DeAndre. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye.
Our man DeAndre, playing the parlay sheets. I don't know. Again, if you're trying to win, if you're trying to be smart, and it's an investment, that's one thing. If you're trying to play for entertainment and you have fun with it, that's another thing. I would say stay away from parlay bets. I broke this down during the other live stream today in regards to the percentages. It's rough to try to hit 3, 4, 5 straight. Work out the percentages on that. There's a reason they put those parlay sheets together. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's McD Sports 4. How are you doing?
I'm good, McD. How are you? Let's see. The last time we talked was we talked after the Miami Pitt game, correct? Yes. Yeah, we did.
No, actually, it was after the fourth. It was after Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Ole Miss and Arkansas. Ole Miss and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Really? Did a live stream after that? Anyway, regardless, I wasn't on live after that game. That was the game of the day for me. I didn't see this Florida State North Carolina game though, but that Ole Miss Arkansas game, that was my favorite game of the day.
But that's a Bears thing here in North Carolina. I guess Matt Brown can't beat Florida State. So the game in North Carolina is that they usually only face them once every. As the conferences are online right now, they only face them once every 6 years. So that's the good news if you're in North Carolina. But I guess Matt Brown can't beat North Carolina and can't beat Florida State. I mean, that was absolutely a Bears thing.
Yeah.
31-7, I heard at one point.
31-7.
How is that possible?
You wouldn't think it would be possible because Florida State doesn't have enough playmakers to score 31 points against anybody.
Well, a few teams I think they could score 31 against, but
well, Jacksonville State, I think they scored 31 for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what happened in that game. I'm gonna have to rewatch that, but I want to mainly talk about this Alabama Georgia game that just ended up, and my two takeaways is that these teams will rematch in the SEC championship game. I think that's a given because I will take Georgia against anybody in the SEC not named Bama -14 right now.
I can understand that.
I mean, you might pause about Auburn and Florida or maybe LSU, but I mean, Florida can't play defense. Auburn just lost to South Carolina by 8, and I think Georgia will beat South Carolina this year probably by about 3 to 4 touchdowns. So I would assume that they probably beat Auburn by at least 2 to 3. And then LSU can't play defense either. So I would definitely take any team that Georgia's facing, not named Bama, -14.
Well, I'm going to mention
right
two
now.
teams. I'm going to mention a team that I think is better than the two teams that you mentioned, Auburn and LSU, and that's Kentucky.
I would take -14 Georgia because I don't completely trust Kentucky. Granted, Ole Miss I think has the best offense in the SEC. Despite today,
They do.
They have 5.
They have a better offense than Alabama.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have a defense at Ole Miss.
No, I think Alabama's got the best offense in the conference. I don't even think it's close. I would go Alabama 1, Florida 2, Ole Miss 3. Those would be my offensive rankings.
Okay. I would take Bama ahead of Florida, obviously, on offense. So, I mean, I guess it's a coin flip with Bama, Ole Miss, but I do think Ole Miss has like a top 2 offense. I mean, Bama gave up 48 to them, so I don't think there's any shame for giving up a bunch of points to Ole Miss this year. I just don't. And Arkansas, they forced 7 turnovers, yes, but I mean, Ole Miss was in that game till like the final 2 or 3 minutes, despite the 7 turnovers. So I don't. I look at Ole Miss, and I kind of just think they're just going to score a bunch of points, give up a bunch of points. That's my feeling about them. And then really, Kentucky's ever lost. Auburn, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Auburn that ever lost?
Against Arkansas?
No, Kentucky's ever lost.
Yes, Auburn.
Yeah. I mean, from what I saw from Auburn, I think Georgia could beat them by 3 touchdowns. So I would say
Well,
Georgia
they've already played.
3 touchdowns.
They've already played. Georgia and Auburn have already played, and Georgia did beat them by 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Sure.
3 touchdowns, 27-6. Yeah. I would say it's probably a similar score, honestly. The Georgia-Kentucky game.
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if they played and it was 27-6. Sure. But if somebody was going to give me 14 points in Florida or Kentucky, I'd probably take it. I would definitely take it for Florida.
I wouldn't. Florida can't stop anybody.
Yeah, I understand that. Georgia was stopping everybody until they played Alabama.
Well, I think what happened in this game more than anything was I thought they did a good job in the first half defensively, but Najee, they just kept on hanging off number 22 number 22 and Najee Harris, and basically the defense just got tired. Stephen Bennett cannot be throwing 3 interceptions. I thought he had his worst game. That's his worst game of the season right there, for sure, in my opinion. I don't think he'll play any worse in any of the other games coming up there. But overall, I think these are the 2 best teams in the SEC. I don't even think it's really that close. I think Bama's 1, obviously. Georgia's 2, and they're going to rematch in the SEC championship game.
I can't argue with that. That seems all very obvious. Yeah, I can't argue with that. And
by the way, Bama's playing Tennessee next week. Expect Bama to win that game 55-10. Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, so that seems about right.
But overall, I just want to give my 2 cents on the Bama Georgia game. I saw Virginia Tech blew out Boston College, so good for Virginia Tech. And basically, there weren't really too many night games. But you want to know the good news, Mark?
What's that?
The Big Ten comes back next week, and the Pac-12 comes back on November 7th, so we can have a bunch of night games to talk about. And the MAC and Mountain West, I believe, are coming back on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. The MAC might be coming back on the 6th. But,
yeah, it just means I'm going to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays again. That's right.
Yeah. You're going to have a November and December to do that. And as I said before, I think this is just like a 1-year thing with these whole adjusted schedules and whatever, at least for football. So hopefully this will just be a 1-year thing, and hopefully next year. I found out last week that Georgia and Clemson are facing off in Week 1 for 2021 next year. So that'll be a huge game to look forward to next year. But basically, can't wait for the Big Ten to come back because, as you know, I'm a Allen Terps fan. And we're going to beat Northwestern, Mark. I have a pretty good feeling about it. So
yeah, for some reason, I think the line is way too heavy on that game. I can't believe that you're an 11-point underdog in that game.
Oh, the line's out for that game?
That's what I heard. That's we ran down the lines on our Ohio State live stream the other day, and we had all the Big Ten lines, and that's what I saw. 11 points. I just can't see that.
I would take Maryland plus, unless I know I'm a homer for the Maryland Terps, but I would take Maryland plus 11 any day of the week against Northwestern. I don't think Northwestern is as good as some people want to think they are. So, I hope we beat Northwestern. I think it's there. I think it's in, what's the area they play? It's not Chicago. It's North Chicago.
Evanston.
I believe. So, hopefully we get the win there. But just want to get my 2 cents on Bama, Georgia. Next week, hopefully we get a lot more games. The Big 12 only had 1 game today on Big Noon Kickoff. So, that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize that was the only game because I was thinking, I was like, how is Kansas on Big Noon Kickoff? But I understand why they're on Big Noon Kickoff. But thanks for taking my call, Mark. Go Terps. We'll be in Northwestern next week.
Thanks, McD. Yeah, we're 1 week away from Big Ten football. Certainly the SEC has saved viewing college football in recent weeks because it was pretty bad with the Big 12 and the ACC. We were all thankful just to have college football back, but there were few decent games to watch for those first couple weeks until the SEC kicked in. But we've got a good one certainly out of the ACC tonight. And if I'm going to go back and torture myself by watching more football late tonight, the games I DVR'd would be, I'd want to see South Carolina and Auburn. Saw a little bit of it. It was on the third screen. Got that DVR'd Florida State, North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee. But, of course, I'd only watched maybe the first half of that game because Tennessee is on life support. Well, they're done when it comes to anything tangible that they could win this year. Sports Today, updated top 4, Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, Georgia. Yeah, well, we'll have the top 25 that actually makes sense out very soon, first thing in the morning or maybe around noon, something in that range if I get around to it, and that will not be my top 4. Not based on Notre Dame's performance. I did not have them in the top 4 anyway. My top 4 coming into this week was Georgia 1, Bama 2, Clemson 3, and I forget who I had at 4. It might have been North Carolina. Again, those aren't the 4 best teams in the country. Those are the 4 best performances against
The call will start at the beat.
the opponents. And so the best team in the country with the best resume is Alabama. It's not even close right now. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? This is Dave.
Hey, Dave. What's going on?
David Knight, anyway. I think you should rate Notre Dame like at 25.
Well, we'll see. Maybe I will.
They, you and I had this conversation about Ian Book, and you know what? God bless him. He's a good kid. He doesn't get into problems. And I know he tries hard, but he's not very good.
I didn't see the game today, but of course the numbers speak for themselves.
You know, a third-year starter at this point in time, you're supposed to have your game together, right? Yeah, I don't get it. But I really didn't watch the Alabama versus Georgia game. I alluded to the UNC FSU game. Man, that was a great game. That was a great game. And I kind of felt like Florida State, I know you do the program with those other 2 gentlemen. I felt like Florida State was improving each week, but they really put it together today.
Well, they did for the first half for sure, and then they hung on. I don't have much
definitely.
I don't have much of an evaluation on it. I saw like 5 plays. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. But, yeah, I think it's a huge win for Florida State. They were a big underdog. A lot of people liked North Carolina as the second best team in the ACC. I think this only shows us when you combine the performances of Notre Dame, not just this week, but in recent weeks, Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, all that second tier of sorts, that really there's a huge gap, and it still exists between Clemson and everybody else, and that the ACC is not, even with Notre Dame joining the league for 1 year, doesn't appear to be very good.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's defense is pretty good. If you look, like even when they played Florida State, they kind of spotted them 10 points, with their special team snafus, and then Kyron Williams fumbled like around the 10. So if you subtract, that's like 16 points. So you go to 13, 7, 0, 16. Their defense is hanging in there, but their offense is a business. It's just terrible. And man, like I'm ready to jump off the bridge. I think, yeah. And then you look at the side, Bill Dracovic is playing lights out. He just joined that team, right? He had no practice time with them at all, and he's lighting it up. And I'm like, wonder what were the coaches thinking about?
Well, the same has been said at other locations. One would be Athens, Georgia, about the evaluation of quarterback play.
As in Justin Fields, right?
Sure. Now, Jurkovic, I don't know how well he played today. They only scored 14 points. I didn't see any of the game, but
I didn't either.
Yeah, he's certainly playing with inferior talent compared to what he had at Notre Dame. But yeah, based on what I see out of Ian Book and see in a limited sample from Phil Jurkovic, I'll take Jurkovic any day.
Yeah, me too. And I don't know. Sometimes, Brian Kelly's one of those guys that you see him making progress, and then all of a sudden it stops. Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to jump off the bridge, but the only bridges I can find are 8 feet tall, and I'll probably just break my ankle.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to go full bore and be able to complete the deal if you're going to go that route.
Yeah.
All or nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark, man, I'll let everybody go, and you can pull somebody else. I'm just blubbering. Probably looking for some psychiatric help for the dismay of my team. So, anyway, it was to me a great day of football. Really, really good football.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching football today, and there's a few games that, again, I didn't get to really zero in on that looked like a whole lot of fun, including that Florida State game. So I guess the worst thing for you, David, could be that your team and therefore you are going to be caught in purgatory this year, having to play Clemson twice.
I know you're right. I mean, I'm laughing because you're absolutely right. So we'll see what happens.
We shall.
Take care of yourself.
All right, David. We appreciate the call.
Okay. Bye-bye.
MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Please join me on Patreon. I got my predictions there, and had an exceptional interaction with somebody who's been watching a long time. Joins us here, is in the live chat all the time. I don't know if they want me to say their name. I will if they give me allowance, but they wrote me a very insightful comment on Patreon last night that I'm going to take hold of. It's been something that I've thought of and had a similar mindset to for a long time, but they put it definitely into perspective. So that was exceptional. I'm going to share that at some point, and I've got a lot of good, interesting ideas about what to do with our channel since I'm here all the time now. Feeling good. Yes, Syracuse lost to Liberty. How about that, Dino Babers? Adrian still believes it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Florida Of course, the Gators will have the head-to-head with Georgia, and despite the loss to Texas A&M, if they can get by without losing another game, then that becomes the game of the year again in the SEC Eastern Division. But because Florida has lost the one game, if they beat Georgia, they have to make sure that they don't lose to anyone else, i.e. Kentucky. They get the rematch with LSU, or not the rematch, but the rescheduled game on December 12th would be another possibility of a loss. Yeah, Notre Dame, this is the frustration that I can't watch all the games that I want to see, because I would love to see Notre Dame's offense. The defense obviously played pretty much lights out, 7 points against Louisville. So look at the bright side, David and other Notre Dame fans. You gave up 7 points to an offense that scores points against everybody, 34 against Miami. But on the offensive side, I would love to have somebody, this is what, when we build this out to the nth degree, and I have like editors and PAs running around, then I'll say, cut me up the entire offensive breakdown for Notre Dame. I want to see every offensive play for Notre Dame. And then they send me a clip, and then I watch the game in about 18 minutes, because all I want to see is Notre Dame on offense to see what happened. Florida will beat Georgia. I'll have to go back and look at my, whether it be the Tennessee prediction video or the Kentucky prediction video, in which I predicted Kentucky would beat Tennessee before the season started, and all the people that called me all sorts of awful names because I was just such an idiot to pick Kentucky to beat Tennessee. Yes, Reasonable Gump, we saw Ole Miss's 6 picks. I shot a video about that. I know you're all going to watch my Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Arkansas recaps after this live stream. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? J-Love T.
J-Love T.
In the building. Yes.
All right.
It feels good to get a W.
Got your W? Yep. Tell us about it.
Yes. Oh, man, it's amazing. I know a lot of Kane fans are overreacting. They're thinking that this is Madden 20. They're disappointed that we only put up 30 points against Pitt. But I'm happy that we're winning games that we're supposed to win. Win games that you're supposed to win. Don't just rely on the talent. Do what you have to do to win, and I'm happy about it.
Do those people know that Pitt might have, let's say, about a top 15 defense in the country?
They don't care. They don't care. They think it's Madden 20. Every play is supposed to go for 99 yards and a touchdown. And some people were even saying bench Derrick King. So it is what it is. Hopefully, when you guys do the breakdown, you can explain it to the majority of these people, because I don't understand it. But like I said, it was a great win, especially at home against a very good team, especially the team with the top. Oh, you hear me now? Hello?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh yeah, against top 2 ranked rushing defense. Come on now. Mm-hmm. And not only that, main reason why I called in, shout out to Alabama for once again beating one of the most overrated college football programs in America, in the Georgia Frog Bulldog /Cat. Like I said, I don't know why people make it seem like Georgia's a top 5 program, but they will never win it. They will never win the big game. Alabama owns them. Nick Saban owns them. They will always be the 4th best team in the SEC, regardless. And yes, they went 40 years without a national title. They will go another 40 years without a national title, because that's who they are. Thank you for taking my call, Mark, and have a blessed one.
Thanks, J Love T. Appreciate it. Guess J Love T did not want to engage in a Georgia debate tonight because I would have defended the Bulldogs to a certain extent. Certainly, he's right that they've not gotten over the hump, the hurdle that is Alabama, and that's been the hurdle. Who else have they not beaten? Kirby Smart took over in 2016. He had the 1 year that you've got to excuse, of course, getting his program, his structure, his organization, his terminology, his culture built. 8-5 in 2016. Jacob Eason at quarterback. Then they start off with Eason in 2017. We know the deal. Jake Fromm took over after the Eason injury. They were the toast of college football. They were the up-and-comers at that point, and everything was great because they came within one play of winning the national championship. Now, since then, the expectations, because of the recruiting, have been through the ceiling, and they have underachieved. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. Reasonable Gump here. What's going on?
Not too much. So I caught a few of your comments in the live chat. Even despite that effort.
I heard you mention my name. I heard you mention my name a couple times, but I didn't quite catch what you said.
Well, despite beating Georgia, who was #1 in the country and the only rankings that matter, you're beating them by 17 points. You're still not satisfied.
I'm hopeful. Let's put it that way. Last week I wasn't able. Last week I was pretty much the season's done. I'm hopeful about what I saw in the second half, but I mean, you can't give up almost 700 yards of offense to a team that almost got shut out the next week, and then say that you're going to be satisfied just because we have a good performance the next week. I mean, I got to see more to satisfy me right now. I mean, still, if you want, that entire first half of the game was no different than the Ole Miss half. We couldn't put up a stop to save our lives. Now I'm glad how we played the second half.
Sure.
But football's made of two halves. It's made of 4 quarters. Georgia knows that better than anyone. They've lost every game against us in the second half for the last 3 times. So show me an Alabama team that plays 4 quarters and beats somebody, 50-10. Then I'll come on here, and I'll be, hooting and hollering and beating my chest, saying that no one else has a shot or anything, or that kind of stuff. But that's something I haven't seen yet. And we played 3 teams that I should have seen that. I mean, this was about as good as you can. You're right. This is about as good of a win as you can expect against a team like Georgia.
Sure.
They're the best defense that I think I've ever seen. And I've watched Nick Saban defenses for, 12 years. So I think this Georgia defense that we just played is the best defense I've ever seen, ever. And we put up 41 on them. We would have put up 48 if, we didn't just try to run out the clock. So, and, we beat them by 17. We were favored to win by 3, and we won by 17. I'm acknowledging all of that. But I still need to see a complete game be played first before I'm going to start really believing in this team.
So when you equate a complete game to a 50-10 result, who is this game going to be played against that you're going to win 50-10? Are you expecting, aside from the Vandy's of the world, 50-10?
Wasn't Ohio State winning by pretty much that average in the Big Ten last year? Did we beat Wisconsin like 41-3 in the first time they played them?
They beat Wisconsin 38-7 the first time they played.
All right, so something like that. Maybe not 50, maybe 40.
Okay, 38-7.
And by the way, Wisconsin was like the only team that everyone thought stood a chance. And you guys didn't even allow a touchdown.
Wisconsin went to the Rose Bowl. They played well against everybody else. Sure.
Right. So I'm not talking about we need to be doing that to Georgia. I'm talking about we need to be doing that to Missouri. We need to be doing that to Ole Miss. I mean, Texas A&M looks like they're actually pretty good, so the more weeks go by, the better that win can look.
Yeah, see, I'm not on board with this analysis outside of the defensive effort against Ole Miss. I get it. That was no football fan of a major power wants to see their team, even in a win, take on a mid-tier team at best in their conference and give up 48 points and just be completely helpless on defense, not be able to stop anything. That's tough to watch. But other than that, the Missouri game, I didn't watch one play of that game. I saw some highlights, but I did not watch one play. But Missouri had 3 points when it mattered. That final score was not indicative of the domination. Texas A&M is a good football team. They're one of the 15 best teams in the country, something in that range. And you dismantled them. You had no issues with them. They had a flurry in the second quarter that made it a tie game. But other than a 5-minute span of time in which they played with you and outplayed you, you dismantled them. And then you just took on maybe the most talented team along with you in the country, certainly one of the top 3 or 4. And it was a great game for the first half. It was a competitive game deep into the third quarter, early fourth quarter, and then you just walked away from them.
Everything you said is true. You and I disagree on what everyone calls garbage time.
Yeah.
Or you seem to think that kind of stuff doesn't matter. I do. I think it matters a lot. I think it matters when I just see our team our defense just kind of throw away the game, saying, "Yeah, we've already won. We don't need to keep playing." Or when a team or someone else's offense does the same thing, like Georgia did against Auburn, they just stop playing in the entire second half.
Yeah.
So no, that those 2 scores that we just allowed Missouri to get, to me those do matter, and it's not just the fact that they got them. It's not like you threw 2 Hail Marys that just happened to go their way. They just walked right into the end zone both times, completely unopposed. You said you didn't watch a play of the game. I don't really blame you. It wasn't the biggest game that week, but I watched it. And those 2, the last 5 minutes of that game looked eerily similar to the entire Ole Miss game. It's when I see stuff like that, and I look at how these past 2 seasons have gone, is where I just can't feel comfortable that this is going to have any different outcome. This has been some sort of thing that's just been plaguing this team for the last 3 years. Is what in the world? Where are these Nick Saban defenses we used to have? And some people want to say, yeah, your offense is really good. Yes, there's some trade-off there, and I don't agree with that at all. But even if that was the case, it doesn't excuse why we're missing tackles, why we're just opening up giant lanes for their running backs, or in a lot of cases their quarterbacks to run through. It doesn't excuse basic fundamentals like that. So that's just what it's kind of like. I've been watching Alabama have probably the best offense as a whole it's had, maybe in its history, but in the last 3 years, I think has been a better Alabama offense than we've ever had. And I've had to watch it go to waste because we're basically Oklahoma. It's the same thing when you talk to Georgia fans who say, good Lord, if only we had, more than a kindergarten offense. Because Georgia has the best defense I think their program has probably ever had. But they've had to waste it the last 3 years because they can't score points. It's just the flip side right now. I get it that again, this is as good as we were ever going to beat Georgia. Beat them by 17, held them 24, we scored 41. No one who knows anything about football can ask for a better game than that. So I'm not saying I'm not satisfied with the game. I'm very happy with the way the game went. before I start really believing that this team can go out and win the whole thing, I got to see proof that we are not SEC version of Oklahoma. That's what I got to say. I wasn't trying to sound like I wasn't satisfied with the game. I am satisfied with the game. I'm just not completely sold on the team yet.
Okay. Fair enough. I just think that we're playing football in a way with these passing offenses that you can't expect. You can't measure the defensive play versus 2009, 10, 11 standards.
Maybe not 2000. Maybe not holding them to 10 points a game, but I don't expect to be allowing 30 points a game.
Yeah, and again, we do disagree about
anyway,
garbage
man,
time.
Where's your two Florida State fan buddies? They actually got something good to talk about.
They do. I know that they're at the game, so it might be difficult for them to come on. But they certainly. We talked the other day about them coming on to talk some Florida State football, but that's up to them. So they're probably having themselves a big time. But I remember us having this discussion. It must have been 2 years ago when Alabama had one of those 55-31 wins over Arkansas, where Arkansas scored a bunch of points in garbage time and you were all upset. And I told you, wait until this defense plays LSU and Mississippi State, who were arguably, if I recall correctly, the two best teams or two of the best teams on the schedule. And I said, well, you're going to see what your defense is made out of, and I expect them to play much, much better when they actually have to. And you pitch 2 shutouts.
And then we go and give up, probably, 41 to Oklahoma and 46 Clemson, whatever it was.
Yeah, you beat Oklahoma, 38-27, I believe. And then
no, it was more than that.
44-16.
40s and 30s at least.
Whatever it was. 45-31, whatever it was. I know I didn't. I know that I was upset that Saban didn't tack on a touchdown at the end because I picked you guys to cover the spread, and you did not. Anyway, I am going to say that if Alabama gets into a game, whether that's in the conference, which seems unforeseeable, but we've seen it before, where Tennessee, going back to the great Saban teams, the first great Saban teams where they struggled with Tennessee a couple times, the Terrence Cody game, those type of games, where if Alabama gets into that type of game, or maybe the next time around with Georgia, where the offense isn't clicking, somebody comes up with a defensive scheme that somewhat works in containing them, and it's more of a low 20s, high 20s type of game, I bet this defense will stand up to the challenge.
Do you think if the defense realized they were going to have to win the game for once, that it's more kind of a psychological thing, that they'll step up to the plate?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do.
Well, I can't really say you're wrong, because the weird thing about this, Mark, is the difference between Alabama and Oklahoma is Alabama actually has talent on the defense.
Yes.
We're not fielding 2 and 3 stars that we picked out of, the dregs of Oklahoma and Kansas and all that.
Yeah.
We're chock full of 4 and 5 stars. That's why it's just weird what I've seen these past few years. I will say this: while it was amusing for me to watch South Carolina beat Auburn today,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of pulling for every team that plays South Carolina now, because I need Will Muschamp gone, and I need him over here at Alabama's re-education school for disgraced head coaches as a defense coordinator.
Okay.
because
Well,
this Pete Golding guy just ain't. He's got to go. I mean, all this talent we got. There's no excuse for that Ole Miss game. There's no excuse for really any of this. I mean, when I see, all these guys that are projected to be NFL first, second, third round picks, and they're just completely missing their assignments. They're missing tackles. I mean, just all game long. That has to be coaching. It can't be anything else. Congratulations on shutting out Georgia for the second half.
Exactly.
First good thing they've done on defense all year.
That's not a good thing.
Excuse these past few years.
Elevate that to great. Now, Georgia contributed to that to a certain extent. They did move the ball. They had drives in the second half, but Stetson Bennett suddenly became a quarterback who, for 3.5 games, was making the right decision, the right read, delivering the ball on time, putting it where it needed to be, to suddenly, late in the second quarter, they had that touchdown drive where he completely misfired on 2 guys that were open, but it didn't cost Georgia because he threw the touchdown on third down, and that was pretty much the last meaningful, good, accurate pass he threw in the game. And so, yes, your defense was helped by him losing his mind in the second half. But the defense still pitched a shutout against one of the 3 most talented rosters in the country.
I would temper that just a little bit. First of all, I have no idea why Georgia's plan was for Stetson Bennett to try throwing it up the middle so many times.
Yeah.
I kind of lost count of how many times we batted it down. The guys, 4'6", and our linemen are 6'4" and 5.
True.
So I don't know why that play call was like that. He should have been basically. I mean, the guy's pretty swift. He's got some legs on him. The game plan should have been to get him outside the tackle box every time. Well, actually, pretty much just every play, and let me hand it off.
He's, I believe, as tall, or maybe taller than guys like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Johnny Manziel.
And but Baker Mayfield was. I'm not really sure where he liked to throw from, but I know both Kyler Murray and Johnny Manziel. Pretty much, they would take the snap. They plant their feet for maybe a half a second, and then they're moving. They're moving somewhere to where they can get a clear shot to throw, and that's where Stetson Bennett, I think, was struggling. I'm not sure if it's his fault or if the plays were just designed to keep him in the pocket. I kind of think it's the latter. I kind of think he's just kind of doing what he's told.
Plus, it's also up to these quarterbacks that are challenged that way in particular, really all quarterbacks, but in particular guys at his height, to not stereotype. I'm losing the word here. Not, oh my goodness. What's the word when you give it away? When you, oh my word. Anyway, to not give away where they're throwing the ball, to look off the play before you throw the ball. Telegraph. Thank you. Woo! To not telegraph where he's throwing it, because the defensive linemen are taught to, if they can't get that immediate pass rush, then they stay back and they bat the ball down, and that's what happened to him.
Honestly, I was saying in the chat, man. Just imagine if Kirby or whoever's responsible for this on that team. Just imagine if they knew how to develop a quarterback. I mean, my God, they ran off Justin Fields. They ran off Jamie Newman. I don't know what was going on with DeJuan Mathis. I mean, if Georgia had any of these guys, they would be the overwhelming favorite to win the national title. a quarterback that can really make plays. It's almost the same. Georgia's mishandled their quarterback situation almost as bad as Alabama's managed to handle their kicker. I say that ironically after we somehow made a 52-yarder with 1 second to go in the first half.
Yeah, wasn't that something? But you guys have won despite that. They haven't.
Well, there's a big difference between the importance of the kicker and the quarterback, to be fair.
Well, sure. There is.
Anyway, so someone told me that the Big Ten is actually playing this year. Is that true?
Going to play some football this week. We'll see, unless everybody gets COVID between now and then. So, yeah. Noon on Saturday in Columbus. Nebraska's in town.
Something that reminded me. I don't know why it reminded me of this, but you guys, when someone was talking about USC and apparently something bad, like, why is USC a topic right now? Is there something in the news about them?
Not that I know of. USC? I can't think of anything.
Okay, I thought I heard you guys saying that their chance to do anything meaningful this season.
Well, I know that earlier today I saw on ESPN's Football Power Index, however they put that together, which I've dispelled many times, but regardless, that they gave USC the 4th best chance of any team in the country to go undefeated.
The 4th best chance?
Yeah, it was in some kind of order. BYU, Ohio State, Alabama, I'm sure Clemson was in there, and USC.
Right.
But other than that, I don't have anything on USC. My computer's not cooperating.
Well, anyway, not going to take up much more of your time. I'll say I am cautiously optimistic now. I'm not hopeless anymore, but I just got to wait and see. Next week should be a good match to test this to see if this is the turning point.
Sure, you should get your 50-10 game next week.
Seeing as how Kentucky managed to do it 34-7, hopefully we can at least tack on a few more points there. All right, Mark. You have a good night, man.
Appreciate the call. Talk to you later. All right. Good time tonight. What do we got here? 194, 134. We were up to about 175, I think, on the line. And I will hang out for a few more minutes, and I will certainly look through the live chat. Somebody contributed. I want to get that to the screen. Didn't see necessarily who that was. Let's get to that. In the super chat, we've got Jason. Yeah, we got Casey Cruz. There we go. I should put my glasses on first. Just didn't feel like we're in the contacts. Miami got away with a great but sloppy win and was lucky Pickett did not play. Certainly the Wholesome One said the same thing. So we did a live stream after the game with the instant analysis and brought on the Wholesome One on the Miami channel. So check that out. And he thought the same thing about Miami being fortunate that Kenny Pickett did not play. Sam Howe will pick us apart if our D keeps playing this way. Live Squad. Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it. Super Chat's available if you want to keep this baby going and keep me from having to look for a job anytime soon. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The SEC is better than the Big Ten and the ACC. Okay? Makes sense. Trevor threw a pick today. It obviously didn't help Georgia Tech. Anyone think Georgia would have played Bama better if Jamie Newman wasn't run off and had games under his belt there? Not necessarily. I think Jamie Newman was a bit overhyped. Jamie Newman is a top 25 quarterback in the nation. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's David again. I just got to say, it's all reasonable to stop being so unreasonable about Alabama. They're just going to be fine on defense. They got way too much talent. They'll be fine.
Yeah, you heard what I had to say. I agree.
I mean, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. I just want to amplify your point. It's a different game than it was in 2009 and 2010. Take a look at the team that won the Super Bowl last year. The Kansas City Chiefs didn't have a great defense. It was a decent defense, but it wasn't great. They won with a good defense, but they had a great offense. And nowadays, you just have to be good on defense. You don't have to be great. Maybe get a few red zone stops, force a few turnovers, and you're good to go if you're good enough offensively.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a different game. I think it's I think the game's more boring. Is not as exciting. Not as exciting is not the right word. It's not as interesting to me as it was 10 years ago, or maybe I'm just getting old and curmudgeony about it. But the games seem to be they all look the same to me. It's like watching NBA basketball, where nobody plays defense until there's 3 minutes left in the game.
No, I get your point. I mean, I'm one of those football fans that can enjoy 17-14 as much as I can enjoy 41-38 or 51-48 or whatever you have going on right now. I mean, I can appreciate good defense. I mean, some of the best games I've seen have been 17-14.
Sure.
And I know you probably would say that too.
Absolutely.
Right?
So my whole take on all of that, David, is that I like a variety. So 15 years ago, when we saw a 48-45 game in college football, it was exciting because it was different. So I like to see a mixture, and we just don't seem to get that. We get to see the 48-42 game every game, and we see everybody runs the spread offense. Like when I hear about a team, a head coach, an offensive coordinator talk about how they run the air raid and how they run up tempo and how they spread people out and create mismatches. Who in the hell's not doing that?
Sure.
This is what football is. They talk like they've revolutionized the game in the last 4 months. I don't know what they're talking about when I hear these offenses. Rhett Lashley's coming to Miami to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, he's doing something that everybody in the nation's doing. Doesn't every offensive coordinator know how to do this outside of Air Force, Army, and Navy?
Sure, you're absolutely right. What it is right now, it's about spreading people out, putting more receivers on the field that they can cover, because you can't cover every receiver. And eventually you find a mismatch and you take advantage of it. And, I got to be honest with you, it's much more difficult to defend these spread offenses than it is to defend I formation, split backfields that you had in the 90s and the early 2000s. We all know how it's much easier to defend that. I mean, an I formation and a split backfield versus a spread formation where you've got a really good slot receiver. You've got, the back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. You have multiple threats out the pass pattern. I mean, that's just bottom line. It's tougher to defend that, right?
You know what I'm tired of watching too, David? I'm tired of watching. It's been going on now for about 10 years. Is watching, okay, basically there's hardly a huddle, which is fine. But you see these teams rush up to the line of scrimmage to run the next play. Then they stand there for 20 seconds and look at the sideline, and the defense gets set anyway. And then they run the play. I get tired of watching. When I first noticed getting tired of watching this style of football was watching Urban Meyer's offenses at Ohio State. Once he took over 2012, 13, 14, in that range. And I'm not disputing the success of it, just watching every play look the same. Every play was the RPO, stick the ball in Carlos Hyde's gut, read the defensive end, pull it out, give it to him.
Well, to be fair, I got tired of to him running JT Barrett all the time. I got to be real with you, Mark. Or running Braxton Miller all the time. I mean, he talked about running that zone read quarterback run for a long period of time. And to be fair to him, it did work. I'm not going to argue with that. Now, to be fair, he did eventually embrace Haskins, who was more of a pro-style drop-back quarterback, and has been able to kind of adjust to that type of scheme as well. Now, I think that was more Ryan Day developing that type of quarterback, and that's why I think we're fortunate to have Ryan Day right now, who's kind of running more, a pro-style type offense, and it's no longer just, fake into the running back and let the quarterback run. So it's varied now with Day at quarterback compared to Urban that way. So I do appreciate that. I tell you what this has forced defenses to reconsider is how they reconstruct their defenses. Because you know what you have nowadays is defenses building their defenses back to front rather than front to back. Because you have to have defensive backs nowadays. You have to have defensive backs who can cover and who don't get toasted. So, you have to be able to have multiple corners who can cover. It's just not building up the D-line and the linebackers like it used to be. So, yeah, I think it's forced them to change that way. If you notice that as well?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's, Seattle was one of the few teams in the NFL that kind of built their team up that way. Legion Boot defense. The strength of their defense was their secondary. And they had corners who could cover. They had safeties who could cover. And that's what kind of gave them an advantage against some of the, pass-happy offenses over that period of time. So I think it's forced defenses to kind of reconsider that way. Now, I still think you need elite defensive line talent, but I think it's put more of an emphasis nowadays on having really good talent on the back end, in the secondary.
Yeah, it's not good enough just to have two corners and then safeties that can do some coverage, but are more run enforcers. You've got to be able to put 5 dudes on the field that can cover, tight ends that are going to be in the slot and running backs out of the backfield and the whole deal. And
well, it's also changed, Mark, is the linebackers are lighter nowadays. You just can't have those big pluggers in the middle at linebacker who are, looking to scrape off blocks and tackle a running back in the hole. You're going to have lighter linebackers who can play in space because the whole game is in space right now. You have to have lighter linebackers who are like 225, 230 and can pursue sideline to sideline and play in space and cover people. So, it's changed that way as well.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, because you're not just defending the I formation anymore or split backfields. I mean, you're having to cover a speedy back or slot guy out of the backfield that can make plays. So, but if I was reasonable, I wouldn't be so worried about my football team. You've got plenty of talent. You're just fine. You're probably going to get that Atlanta undefeated with the way the rest of your division looks, which is like hot garbage right now. Because LSU is not the team that they were last year, and Auburn looks, not very good either. So, if I had Alabama's worries, I don't think I'd be sweating it out right now. You know what I mean?
Not at all. Not at all. All right.
All right, Mark. Hey, you take care, brother.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Live stream tomorrow?
Yes, we will. Tomorrow night.
All right. I'll hit you up, man.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Let's see what else we've got in the live chat. Yes. So here's the thing about the live chat. That was a boring game, 9-6. That was a bit much on the defensive end. But it was exciting because those were the two best teams in the country playing, and there's no question about that. So here's the deal with the live chat is, man, I want you guys to be able to trash talk, get after each other, go at it, make fun of each other, all that. If it doesn't involve race, religion, gender, looks, that has been targeted at some of my guests, which I take great offense to. I bring on very quality people. I don't care what they look like. You shouldn't care what they look like. We could all make fun of each other's looks. So looks, gender, race, religion, and then personally attacking anybody. Let's just have fun. You can say Ohio State sucks, Clemson sucks, they suck, you suck. That's fine. But let's keep it somewhat classy. Or I certainly would do well in picking up some moderators, but that just seems to leave me as soon as I click the off button and move on to the to-do list that's like 800 items long. That was Tuesdays, and I'm still working off Tuesdays, and I think I crossed like 3 things off of that one. All right. So that's the deal. Man, we got something going at Patreon, and I know that a lot of you joined us on Patreon when I was suspended from YouTube, and that had nothing to do with YouTube. When I was suspended, and we'll just leave it at that, for 30 days here on YouTube, and I appreciate people joining us on Patreon, but that has to keep going. And I have reached out to everybody that's joined us there to say, what is it going to take to keep you and then bring others on? And I appreciate the feedback from most people that just say, hey, Mark, you give us so much on YouTube. We're just supporting you here just to do it. I don't care what you deliver here. But others want to see extra bonus content and other value. And I certainly get that and want to deliver that. So right now, that's my predictions, which I'm not going to guarantee this all the time, every time, but I pretty much can back it up going back to 1982. That was quite a bit a long time ago. 1982, I can go back to 1982 and say, if you follow my predictions, don't blame me if you lose a little bit of money one week or another week, but overall, you're going to make money every year. All right, 39 and 29 against the spread. Do the math if you know anything about betting returns against the spread. 39 and 29 is about 57%. All right, you also get a lot of betting information and betting insight, perspective, tips, that as well. Insider look, and we're going to expand that based on some of the feedback I've received. So it's a great time there, and we also have the offer each and every week out there for an exclusive live stream. So if any of my patrons, my Voice of College Football community on Patreon wants an exclusive live stream, I have delivered those many times, 15 or 20 of those, and one is available each and every week upon request. Mac Jones, I believe, is the front runner for the Heisman right now. I believe he should be. I would go, if I could collect all the Alabama wide receivers into one guy, they would be number one for me. But as it stands, I think I go Mac Jones, then I go Trevor, then I go, I'd have to break down the numbers between Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and John Mechie. Then I look around and I see where I'm guessing Sam Howell didn't have the best game tonight, even though in the second half he put up points and yardage. And other than that, Kyle Trask would still be in my top 5. Kyle Pitts has 7 touchdowns in 3 games. And I would have to look at Michael Carter's game against Florida State tonight because, as Luke Walker knows, he came into this week's game averaging over 10 yards per carry. Joshua completely understood that Mac Jones is not that hot without his receivers, but that's part of the deal. Pretty much part of the deal. Okay. Yeah, I'm not rating Mac Jones to be better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm saying he's a better Heisman candidate right now because he has delivered better numbers against better competition. Yes, he is not the NFL draft prospect that Trevor Lawrence is. No. Jeff Lynn reminds me that the top 25 that actually makes sense will be coming out tomorrow.
To decline. Press 1 to start. The call will start at the beep.
All right, you're on the line. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Hi, Mark. It's George in Portland, Oregon, but I don't want to tell anybody that anymore. It's embarrassing. I'm going to start saying George, the Florida Gator.
Okay, we'll follow along with that adjustment, and we won't let the word out. Your secret is safe with us.
You know what's hilarious? I live 4 miles from downtown. I've never seen anything. None of that shit you see on TV. It's like it never happened as far as, and I'm 4 miles from there. So I don't even know what's going on. Anyhow, I'm on a natural high. This hasn't happened. I'm 60. It hasn't happened since I was like 37 or something. I'm on a freaking natural high. Wasn't today fun?
Today was fun. It was another fun college football Saturday. I can't really elevate it over any others. So do you have this natural high every Saturday?
Florida State winning like that's so cool. I'm so happy for them. You talk to those guys every week. You should be happier than I am. Like, they actually won.
Yeah, they beat a team. They beat the number 5 team in the country, not the 5th best team in the country, but the number 5 team in the country. Sure, they did.
And they did it in style, and they looked good doing it. Didn't they?
I don't know. I was watching the other game.
Oh. I kept flipping over at the commercials, and then I went back to Georgia. Oh, my God. I got to get a recording of that game. That was just great. I'm so proud of both teams for putting in an appearance. Georgia collapsed in the 3rd quarter. I think it broke their back. I think they're done for the season. I think they have an inferiority complex after that. Yeah. God damn. Mac Jones. The man. He's going to the NFL. If he don't go in the 1st round, he'll go in the 2nd round. We'll see.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah, he speaks Chinese. Do you know that?
I did not know that. No.
He speaks fluent Chinese, and they asked him. This is on regular mainstream TV. I watched like 30 seconds of that, and the pregame show. And he said, well, everybody was picking Spanish and French, and he said, I just wanted to try something a little different. So he speaks Mandarin or something, whatever they call it. Anyway, what other games are we missing? Georgia Tech, good job. They kept it within 64.
Do the math. 66.
Oh, was it? Isn't that terrible? You're Jeff Collins. You're doing such a good job. The players are happy, and then bam, you play Clemson. Like, oh my God! All right, the only game I really want to talk about is Georgia, Alabama. This blows my mind. What I witnessed. It typical Nick Saban. You know, you go in the first half. Nick Saban. If you're up by 4 on him at halftime, he feels like he's winning by 17. You know, He's like, that's all you got.
That's pretty much what he's done. Yeah, his whole career. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You are right.
And today of all times, Georgia had a quarterback, couldn't see every line. It was no contest. The guy literally couldn't see, you know?
It did start to become a little comical that, yeah, he was having all sorts of problems back there.
He's like, I think it's sort of in that direction where I want to throw the ball. Because he couldn't see. I mean, trust me, his own linemen are like 6'5", and then the other guys are 6'5", and he's 4'7" or something. Now, on the field, you almost couldn't see him. You know what I mean? You had to look for like that little spot there. That's the quarterback. Everybody else has a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback, or somebody like Michael Vick or something. You know, I mean, look at Florida State. Even them. No, you didn't see that, did you? Anyhow, oh my God, you're gonna love this kid. I forget his name, but he's great.
Jordan Travis.
What a cool customer.
So
Wow.
we really think that if we looked at Stetson Bennett and measured his height against every quarterback in the country, he would just he would definitely be just physically, vertically challenged. I'll use that term.
I've been watching football for 60 years, and I think he looks like the smallest human being I've ever seen on a college football field.
I think that could probably be proven.
I think he's probably 5'7", in all honesty, 6.5.
I'm sure he is.
I mean, you know what? They should have just ran him every play. Nobody would have been able to find him. Just run behind some bigger dude. They'll be like, where is he? I think Kirby Smart messed up. But don't let the word get out. They might use that against us.
Kirby Smart should probably just coach the rest of the team and bring in somebody else to evaluate quarterbacks. That might be best for Georgia.
Is it possible that it's an accident that you have spent like $75 million in bag money to have 35 5-stars on your team and you somehow miss having a quarterback? Can that actually happen randomly by accident, or like, oh, the quarterback? Yeah, we got to get one of those. And then you have Justin Fields there, and you start Jake Fromm. Over and over, you torture your fan base, winning by 3 points when you should. You know, there's something going on in Athens. I don't know what it is. Something a little weird. I feel like Dave Chappelle talking about Hollywood. Something a little weird going on in Athens. You spent $75 million to file them 5-stars or whatever the hell that costs nowadays, and you didn't get a quarterback? You don't have a quarterback? You're using Stetson Bennett the fourth?
They've got a 5-star on the bench.
Why doesn't Kirby Smart just take a knife and go stab every Georgia fan in the heart? Because that's what he's doing. I mean, that's a shame. That's sad. I don't like Georgia. They're my arch enemy, but still, there's no excuse for it. Do you think Urban Meyer would have done that if he was there? Sam Pittman did better than that.
Urban Meyer had his own issues selecting quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're right. I was at the spring game, the first time that guy Cam Newton was on our team, and he came in with like 2-3 minutes left at the end of the spring game, and I was sitting there with my brother in the stands, and I watched like 6 plays, and I said, who is that dude? Who is that guy? What's that number? Like, I said, he's way better than Tebow. He should be starting. That's what I said. So there was some freaky deaky shit going on with Urban too. Otherwise, Tebow would have been on the bench.
Well,
Cam Newton was 1,000 times better than Tebow. He went on to the NFL for 20 years.
Well, that's not exactly the guy I was referring to, because they did okay with Tebow. They won a few games, did all right.
He had already done his job when we got Cam. It should have been like, Tim, since you're such a good Christian young man, give this guy a chance for a minute and see what he can do, you know? And Tim would have to go, okay, because I love Jesus and the American flag and apple pie.
Well, yeah. My Urban Meyer comment came a few years later when he made some miscues in selecting quarterbacks. So the Tim Tebow was certainly.
You're talking about Felipe Franks and Kyle Trask?
No. Urban Meyer wasn't around for that. I'm
you're
talking about Ohio State.
What was the next one? Chris Leak? Who?
No, I'm talking about Ohio State. I'm talking about J.T. Barrett starting above Joe Burrow, Dwayne Haskins, and let's see who else would have been there.
Oh, that was
Cardell
crazy.
Jones and,
yeah. No, okay. Thanks for bringing that up. That was just the whole thing was just like a mini series.
Tebow did all right.
I can't believe that shit at Ohio State. You had these three quarterbacks, and then one went down. You had to bring in the other one, and he went down. And then you brought in that big guy that was like 7 foot tall, 400 pounds.
Yes, it was not Stetson Bennett.
Right. I love that man forever. If I win a lottery and he goes broke, I'll give him money. Who is that giant quarterback you had?
Cardell Jones.
Yeah, he came in. He's the last guy. You've already gone through 2 Heisman winners, basically, that are injured. And this guy's better than both of them. At least he was for a few weeks of his life.
Yeah, and he was about 7 feet tall. Yes, Cardell. He didn't go to class. Didn't care much for school. But he could throw the ball 70 yards.
If he gave a shit, he could do it. And he did give a shit for a few weeks of his life. Like, they're like, Cardell, you got to start. And he's like, what? They're like, you got to straighten up, man. Pay attention. You're starting. Oh, man, good old days. Anyway, did you watch the Alabama-Georgia game?
I did. I made some time to watch Alabama-Georgia. I did, believe it or not.
That was the only game that mattered. Yeah, that was the only one that mattered all day.
Yeah, I think that Alabama team might be the best team in the country. We'll see.
Yeah, and listen, in all seriousness, if J.T. Barrett or J.T. Daniels is some Heisman Trophy-winning guy and he comes in and starts throwing for 400 yards next week, then everybody else might have a problem, right? But in the meantime, Georgia, your season is over.
Season's over for Georgia. Okay.
Because their spirit broken. They realize now they have a retarded mongoloid head coach with a bad haircut, and they're not well coached. And Nick Saban went in at halftime and told his team, I don't like to make adjustments. We're just going to do these couple little things different. I don't know what Kirby Smart did at halftime. I think he said, why don't you guys lay down and lose? I'm not sure what his speech was. But.
So, George, I just made a speech before you called talking about our guidelines in the live chat where we want people to trash talk and have fun and go after each other, but we were leaving alone certain topics, certain attacks. And I included one of those as being, and it's very ironic that you then your depiction of Kirby Smart
whatever.
was quite interesting.
You know why I did that? I won't do it no more. I won't do it no more. But for the record, that's because they call my coach's wife a whore and make jokes about her fucking all the players. So I won't do that no more.
Well,
I thought it.
Yeah, I do see those comments about Mr. Mullen and his wife. I don't know. When I hear that as much as I do, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but we won't continue that conversation. All right, George, we appreciate it.
All right, I'll keep it within the realm of normalcy from now on. I'm sorry, I get carried away sometimes.
And that's one of the reasons we love you, George. Have a good night.
Love you guys too. Talk to you later. Bye.
The unofficial, yet it is official because it's not even close. Most comments to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. That is George. We give George a little leeway. We shouldn't give him too much leeway. But right when I talk about not making fun of anybody's looks, I really do that for myself. I'm just looking to protect myself. I'm sensitive. People attack me from time to time, and actually a lot about that particular topic. So, but I can't even repeat what he stated about Kirby Smart. We got a mongoloid reference in there and the bad haircut, which we all have our preferences on hairstyle. But Kirby, I'm thinking that he just basically trimmed it up a little bit from where he was, in 1988 when he was playing safety at Georgia and had the mullet. And he just kind of trimmed it up from there. All right, everyone, let's see live chat. Anything else fun in here that needs to... Oh, Melissa. Melissa and Cheryl could be our moderators. You could both hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. And I believe Trevor offered to be a moderator. We could have 3 moderators. Others could join in. And I pretty much laid out what I'm looking for. Let people trash talk and have fun and attack each other and go crazy. But we can't be talking about certain things. All right. I think we've done enough damage. We're just under 2 hours, and it feels like I've been sitting here for 5.5. Maybe because I just shot 3 videos before I came on here. Tried to watch the game and did watch every play of the Alabama-Georgia game. So I'm a big DVR guy, as you guys have heard. So I'll start taping the second half, and then I'll shoot videos. That's why I was able to get in a Texas A&M, Mississippi State post, and Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas, Ole Miss. But then I catch up and I knock out all the commercials and I catch up to the game. And this is what I do all day Saturday. This is the deal. And I really want to see this Florida State, North Carolina game. So I think I'm going to watch that. Put that on late night with a little late night ice cream, I guess. All right, everyone. The top 25 that actually makes sense will be out tomorrow. My stock market watch. My stats, facts, and trends. And we're going live tomorrow night. So keep it locked in here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. For all of you, you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, please let people know that we're here. And I appreciate it all. And we'll see you next time.